This is problem number 2 on the sample test problems for test number 3. Let the functions f and g be defined by f of x is 1 over x plus 3 and g of x is x squared minus 4. Part A, evaluate f of g of negative 2 and g of f of negative 2. First thing to observe is that f of g of negative 2 can also be written this way, and that we're supposed to do the inside function first, and then we work our way to the outside. So we need to find g of negative 2. So we'll do that up here. G of negative 2 is negative 2 squared minus 4. Really important to put parentheses there. And we should get a positive 4 minus 4 is 0. So g of negative 2 is 0. So then we got to find f of 0. F is this function. So we're doing 1 over 0 plus 3, or 1/3. And then go in the other direction, more of the same. I'll do this one here. G of f of negative 2. G of, so we need to find f of negative 2. We do that by plugging negative 2 in for the x here. 1 over negative 2 plus 3. We'll clean this up before we apply g. That's really 1 over 1. So I'm really asked to find g of 1. And g of 1 we find with the other function, 1 squared minus 4, 1 minus 4, or negative 3. Part B, find and simplify a formula for f circle g of x. So again, I'll write it this way first, f of g of x, and work from the inside out. So in here we put g of x, which is just the rule x squared minus 4. So g of x, which we found up here, it becomes x squared minus 4. Here's the tougher part. We're now applying f to x squared minus 4. F normally takes whatever you give it and puts it down there with a plus 3 next to it. So that's what we're going to do. There's a 1 on top. There's a plus 3 next to it. And then what's inside the parentheses is x squared minus 4. So that just got copied there. And then we just have to clean it up a little bit. So this is equal to 1 over x squared minus 1. And then part C, what's the domain of f circle g? Okay, so in terms of domain, first thing to look at, we didn't really stress this too much in class, but we look in here, that function x squared minus 4, the domain of that is all real numbers, so we have no worries there. So then the last thing to do is look at the final answer and ask about the domain here. And in this case, we have division, and we need to make sure that x squared minus 1 is not equal to 0, because we can't divide by 0. And so we'll solve this equation and then toss out whatever guys for x we get. In this case, you can add 1 to both sides, square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus or minus. So x is plus or minus 1. Or you can factor. This maybe is safer because then you won't forget the plus or minus. So either x minus 1 is 0 or x plus 1 is 0. And we get the same answers we got before. X is 1 or x is negative 1. And remember, these were the bad ones because these were the things that made the denominator 0. So the domain is every real number except for those numbers.